When we were on the board of the local group, we would start out the year with some kind of mixer and bring the families together of homeschoolers so that they could get to know each other, because there's always new homeschoolers every year. And so we always wanted to make sure that we were welcoming and allowed those people to come in. And so one year we had minute to win it games for an afternoon. We've done picnics, we did beach days, we did all kinds of stuff that just, it allowed the people with younger kids to bring their kids and to make mom friends, and for the kids to make friends. With high schoolers, it's a little bit different because mom and dad usually don't hang out when we drop high schoolers off. High schoolers, either they drive themselves or they're pretty much left on their own until mom and dad come get them. We want to make sure that there's enough parental support that the kids are not left completely unchaperoned, but we also have some place where that's safe and they can go and they can get to know each other and hang out. And some of the things that we did for that was we would have bonfires out at the beach. We would have the football games. There's a lot of sports groups for homeschoolers. They play 6-man football instead of the bigger football teams that you think of, the Class 5 schools or Division 5 schools, that sort of thing. But it doesn't mean that they can't get scholarships either. So you don't necessarily miss out on that sort of thing, because if they're doing really well, some of the people that are in charge of it can contact the NCAA recruiters and have them come and look. And I believe that they can also send tapes in of the kids' athletic prowess and get scholarships. We had one a couple of years ago that got a scholarship. It's a little harder for homeschoolers because the people that they're competing against are not necessarily really into being big football people or big into the sports. They're more there for the rounding out element of it. But the cheerleading, we have cheerleading, we've had football. We started a student council at one point, and for several years we ran student council, and we allowed the student council leaders to help do some of the planning and participating in making sure some of these events happened. They would do field days, and they would do different things. And if there was a dance or something like that, and we needed labor to come and move things, the teenagers were always willing to go and do that sort of thing, even though it was work, because all of their friends were there doing the same thing. So it becomes a lot more fun when you've got a group of friends that you're close with. And that's something that people worry about with homeschooling, is if they're going to have any friends. Are my kids going to be hermits? And we don't want that to stop anybody from homeschooling, because to be honest with you, the homeschoolers that I know are actually a lot more socially active than most regular schoolers. I believe one of our speakers talked about that earlier today, that you can't fit in too much with a regular public school education because you don't have as much time. Whereas when you're homeschool, you can find the time, because they'll switch it's the old law of however much work you have will fill how much time you have. But if you give a child a smaller amount of time, they're going to get that work done, especially if there's a reward at the end of going and seeing their friends. And so it works out really well for homeschool families to have a day of the week that everybody pretty much plays the same day. And usually for us, it was Fridays. We would have things in the morning. Maybe we would work. Maybe we would go do a co-op in the morning on Fridays. Our speech and debate classes met in Friday mornings. And then in the afternoons, we have a wonderful lady down there that was a drama teacher. She would do a Christmas play, and she would do a spring drama. And she cut out Christmas play a couple years ago because it really does interfere with the holidays, and she always ended up getting sick. So she cut that out when her last child graduated. But, that is up to whoever's in the community to band together. At one point, the group that we were involved with, that was all we had, was that drama class. There was really nothing else. And so a couple of us got together, and we ended up volunteering and starting to start things up. And that's when we started up prom. That's when we started up sports. That's when we started up all of these different functions that are available to the groups now, because we wanted our children to have things so they wouldn't miss out. We wanted our kids to have homecoming. And I think Stacy was responsible for making sure that when they do homecoming, they actually do, they have spirit days. And so tell them a little bit about spirit days.
So, well, one of the nice things is that I've been a cheer coach for 6 years for this group. I took 2 years off for after my daughter graduated, or 1 year off. Anyway, 1 year off. Anyway, but the nice thing was that I was the administrator of a co-op, and so I instituted Spirit Days. That's what public school does, and it's not that I wanted to be just like public school, so to speak, but Spirit Day was always a fun time. You get to dress up in, different outfits for the day, and so we would do Disney Day, we did Crazy Sock Day, we did Crazy Hair Day, dress up in your favorite college team day. And so just leading up to homecoming, and then we had a pep rally that we invited everybody to. And then we tried to do tailgating at the homecoming game, which worked pretty well. The hard part with 6-man football is that we are, most of our games are on Saturdays because the big schools use the stadiums on Friday nights, and we can't afford it, so there's that. But so we would just, everybody put up their canopies and bring their grills out, and we would do hot dogs and nachos and whatever stuff, and just have fun as an organization. And it just got the other kids that were not involved in cheer or football there to see their friends play, but also to just interact with each other. Mm-hmm. And it's one thing I wanted to say earlier, and I didn't interrupt you because I was answering a text message from somebody. But one of the things about homeschooling is that when your kid sits in a classroom every day, they're with kids of their own age. And so they know how to interact with other first graders, other ninth graders. They don't know, they're not interacting with kids of all ages. That's one of the hugest blessings, I think, of homeschooling, is that my kids could talk to a 5-year-old or they can talk to an 18-year-old. They had a wide variety and a wide range of friend group. So it's nothing for them to talk to anybody. They can talk to moms, they could talk to grandparents, because grandparents are always around for different activities. And I got so many compliments on my kids because they're like, gosh, most kids wouldn't talk to me because I'm an adult, and your kids are like carrying on this conversation with me. Like, yeah, I would hope they would, isn't that what we're teaching them? We want them to be able to go out in the world and be, good members of society. We have to teach them how to connect with other people and talk with other people. And that's one thing that homeschool allows you to do, because they can meet the 5 or 6-year-old on their level and, play little games or whatever. And then they can also meet the teenage 13-year-old who's, has acne and going through stuff, and talk to them. But then they can also meet the one who's graduating and ask them, how's it going? What school are you going to go to? What are you finding out about, career-wise? And so it was such a great opportunity for my kids to be able to have a well-rounded friend group.
Yeah. The friends, we also I was talking about prom a little bit. We would have, because kids are not really taught, especially in homeschool groups, they tend to be very segregated by sex. So like you have all the boys over here and you have all the girls over here. And I think that's a function of the moms and the dads end up gathering together, but it ends up, for some reason, they're very separated. And so one of the things we instituted was we had dance classes, and that actually taught the kids how do you introduce yourself to a girl? How do you introduce yourself to a boy? How do you ask a girl to dance? As a girl, how do you accept, or how do you go out and ask a guy to dance? And so I really liked that, and I liked the fact that we had some great people that were really good at learning at teaching dance. So they learned how to do some things like the boot scoot boogie, and they learned how to do swing dancing, and they learned how to do waltz. How many kids do you know that know how to waltz? It's crazy, but it's one of those things. They love it. The kids just love it, and we would give them that opportunity when they get to be high schoolers to get in there and learn how to treat each other as future partnership, as courting situations. And so I really liked that about it. And it was always fun to end up ending with a dance. And we ended up, 3 times a year they'd have dances. They'd have a homecoming dance, and that was a lot of fun. But the deal with all of that stuff is you have to be willing to. Sometimes you have to be willing to start it. You have to be the one, or it's really nice when you can get 4 or 5 people together and bond as a team and get stuff done. And especially if you can keep it from having a lot of political issues in it and people start fight to each other. So when you do that, make sure you don't pick somebody who likes to stir the pot, because pot stirring people are anathema to anything happening in social situations in a homeschool, because homeschool parents are very opinionated and can't imagine why, but just the fact that you are willing to step out of the box and you are willing to bring your children to you and teach them gives you a certain level of autonomy compared to a lot of other people. There's a lot of people out there that are terrified to teach their children how to read, when all you really have to do is sit down and read to them and show them what the words are. But they don't know that, and they don't have the courage to step out and do that sort of thing. But as homeschool parents, we do, but that also means that we have a certain amount of territorialism, and we don't want people taking over too much territory for us. And so it's a balancing act. But if you can find 3 or 4 people that can get together and start making things happen for homeschool, it makes for a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere for the kids, and to be honest with you, for the parents, because we get lonely too. And I'm sure everybody with the COVID, everybody staying home, it's been really hard. I haven't had church since March, and we watch it online, but it's not the same as going and seeing people and visiting people. It's not the same as, walking up and giving somebody a hug. And I know kids miss that when they're not able to get together. But when you get teenagers together, they don't have space bubbles. For some reason, teenagers are just like, they want to be right up next to each other. And so you don't have this 6-foot social distancing going on with a group of teenagers. So my advice for this fall especially is, if you have a few friends that can make up your family group and you can be close with them and you have a lot of contact with them, then you don't really have to worry about quarantining or having your kids around them too much. But provide those opportunities for your kids to get out there and to be with other kids.
That's why I lost my son to public school. Was because most of his friends had graduated, and he still had 2 more years left. And we had no sports at that time, and we had no dances at that time. And so my husband had just taken over leadership of the homeschool organization as chairman. And so me and my sociable Sam self talked to Judy, talked to a few other moms, and said, hey, let's do this and let's make this something for our kids. all we have is Christmas play. They see each other for Christmas play and for spring drama, but there's so much more out there we could do for our kids. So in saying that, if you want it, then you're going to have to be the one to make it happen. Because you can sit and do a whole lot of wishing, but wishing doesn't make stuff happen. Otherwise, I'd be 115 pounds, but I'm not. So
Yeah. No,
so be bold and
you
make it
do it.
happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's not something, it's not that hard to find the people that are willing to jump in. And maybe you're not the person who likes to go and arrange with buildings and churches and things like that to find space for a dance. But you've got a friend who is. You've got a friend who doesn't mind doing that at all. They don't want to get up in front of the class and teach people how to dance. So, find a couple friends that can help you and that are willing to do. They have the same vision as you. And so yeah, that's one that we really did a lot for our kids, and I'm glad to see that people have taken up that mantle and are still doing it, because it is easy to have something fall apart when the people that are running it graduate. So, all right, well, we have about 4 or 5 minutes. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk to about missing out? What other things would people miss out on? It's mostly friends, and then the teens, the different activities, scholarships. You might be afraid you'd miss out on scholarships.
Yeah, and you won't. I mean, having as a cheer coach, I cannot tell you how many messages I've gotten. Do you have a cheerleader who would be good for our school? Take a video, have her take a video, send it in. I get messages like that all the time. And, so, but you have to be the advocate for your child. That is the biggest, that's a huge thing. You have to be the one to go out there and find information, to research and gather, and then get your child out there for scholarships, for other just social activities. You have to be the one to go to push it. Because kids on their own, I mean, especially with COVID, we're all sitting at home. We might go to the store every once in a while. We might wave to our neighbors across the street.
Kids on the
Basically,
computer.
really isolated.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you can find your friend group and your kids friend group, and y'all can kind of work this out together to where you can say, hey, I know that I've been by myself. We've all been isolated for a while. Have y'all? Okay, then let's get together and let's just have a play day. Let's just let the kids play games while we eat lunch, whatever. Because they need that. That is one of the things that, as my kids were growing up, we went to Florida for an Awanas competition. We've been to Chicago for Awanas competitions. We've been to Dallas for speech and debate tournaments. We've been all over South Texas down for football games and cheer activities, and even up to Dallas, Waxahachie area for cheer stuff. So we have been all over the place because of social activities and different things that we've gotten our kids involved in. But it took me going out there and looking to find it and asking people. And you hear somebody talking, and you're like, what did they just say? And then running after them as they're leaving and saying, hey, can I just ask you a question? What were you talking about? Here's my number, please call me. Text me the information, whatever. Yeah. But get out of your comfort zone and out of your bubble and go to make this the best time for your kids, to make them fall in love with it. And so that when they look back on their high school years, they're not going to say, yeah, we stayed at home and that's all we did. My parents made me homeschool, and they don't have a bad attitude about it. Because, none of my kids can say my high school was boring. involved.
Yeah. And even when they think it is, but they don't know what they don't know. So you have to be the one to think of the stuff. You have to be the one who can think outside the box, because they don't know that spirit days happen at schools. Um, until that sort of thing happens, and you've been involved with it, you don't really realize. And then things have to be kind of translated for homeschool. They can't be, you're not going to do them exactly the same as you can in government school. But it's really something that you, as I was saying yesterday, you have to be intentional, and make sure that what you do for your kids, and you don't overdo, and don't get them over engaged too, because that ends up being a burden. So that's it for tonight. We do have, we're going to take a half-hour break, and at 6 o'clock, we will be back, Stacy and I, to do an hour of question and answers. If you have any, let us know, and we can do our best to answer them. This is one-on-one time, and we would love to talk to you. So that's for the VIP members, and if you contact me, I will see if there's room to put you in if you're not a VIP member. So I will talk to you guys in half an hour, and Reagan's going to play some music for us. And when you hear the "This Is Me," it will be time to come back. So y'all go take a break and sit down for a minute. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. See you. Oh, tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we'll see you then. Thanks.